So, good evening, everybody. How are you? This is Football Talkies, episode 3 from the Indie Football Podcast powered by the Ultimate Champions. And again, after 1 week, we are back. Hopefully, it's only 1 week. मुझे actually पता नहीं time frame कितना है. मैं भूल जाता हूँ. But जब भी याद आता है कि भाई अभी जाना है तो सब आ जाते हैं. So today we have Shopnilda with us. As usual, we have Roshan भैया with us. And we will have a few more guests with us because आज हमारा segment थोड़ा include कर रहा है Madrid versus Valencia और La Liga League. So उसको लेके we will have a lot of interesting points. So let's start. पहले जैसे अभी सब लिवरपूल फैंस रहे. So लिवरपूल versus नॉटिंघम गेम कैसा था? What are your views on that?
स्वप्निल दा आप पहले.
अच्छा the thing is कि जब 90 प्लस 4th मिनट चल रहा था ना तभी लग गया था कि अब कुछ होने नहीं वाला. मतलब everybody lost hope actually. But you know what, like some of the this is where the clutch moments come in, right? Like that is somewhere like you need some players like McAllister and like our chaos merchant Nunes. You need these players to make a difference. So that's what they did. बट सही में बोलूं तो मुझे तो कोई होप नहीं था आफ्टर. लाइक आई थॉट वी वुड विन. बट जब मैच ऐसा चल रहा था कि बहुत ही फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग था. एंड द थिंग इज कि नॉटिंघम फॉरेस्ट अवे इज नॉट एन इजी फिक्सचर. चाहे कोई भी कुछ बोले, नॉटिंघम फॉरेस्ट अवे इज नॉट एन इजी फिक्सचर. बहुत स्ट्रगल हुआ था उसमें. एंड दे वर लिटरली वेरी वेरी फिजिकल. लाइक इफ आई like they were literally like beating us. They were very physical. I'm just happy that no serious injury concern was there after the match. हाँ, हमें ऐसा कुछ देखने नहीं मिला. और we got like 3 points in the bag, and that's I have nothing to add on that. It's just the subtle feeling of euphoria that you feel after the goal, and it's just amazing. That होता है ना कि वो footballing god, like you remember, you worship that footballing god, that footballing spirit. It just makes you like that you get you that euphoric feeling. It's just amazing.
इवन सेम मतलब जब मैं देख रहा था मतलब एक चीज था कि जीतेंगे बट मतलब एंड फनी फैक्ट है कि प्रीमियर लीग एरा में अपना पहला विन है एट द फॉरेस्ट ग्राउंड. लास्ट ईयर में हम लोग गए थे तब उनका लो ब्लॉक और राउई ने गोल मार दिया था. बट हाँ, एक अनकॉल्ड हीरो वाज कैल्विन कैलेगर. तो सेव उसने किया था वो एक्चुअली बहुत ही अच्छा सेव था. एंड इवन इन जनरल आवर डिफेंस वाज एक्चुअली प्रीटी मच ऑन पॉइंट. बट थोड़ा टू सम एक्सटेंट आई फेल्ट कि आवर राइट बैक्स एंड मतलब एक चीज क्या था कि एक सर्टेन ग्रुप ऑफ प्लेयर्स बहुत मैचेस खेल रहे कॉन्स्टेंटली एक के बाद जैसे शायद 4 गेम्स थे इन अ स्पैन ऑफ 14 to 15 days. सो वो जो एक होता है ना मतलब एक फैटिग वो दैट वाज विजिबल. तो जैसे ही वो सब्स्टिट्यूट्स हुए somewhere the pattern of the game or whatever you call it changed a little bit. So we are unfortunate with injuries, but overall I feel कि वो मतलब substitutes along with the Nunez one एक बहुत ही बड़ा टर्निंग पॉइंट था. लाइक वी हैड सीन दैट गैक्पो इज अ गुड प्लेयर बट ही इज आल्सो स्ट्रगलिंग विद फॉर्म एंड कॉन्फिडेंस. उसके बाद प्लेइंग सो मेनी गेम्स बैक टू बैक इजंट रियली हेल्पिंग हिम. मतलब एक होता है कि अगर आपका फॉर्म थोड़ा खराब है यू सिट अ गेम डाउन और यू प्ले सम टाइम एंड देन यू कम बैक. सो वो नहीं हो पाया. एलियट भाई फैंटास्टिक honestly for me, especially like his presence all round what he has shown in all this time incredible. Other players also, बट हाँ वही चीज थी कि थोड़ा बैक से मतलब वो थे बट वो छोटी छोटी चीजें होती रहती है. एंड ऑल्सो अ क्लीन शीट आफ्टर अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम. अपने किस्मत में क्लीन शीट नहीं है. वी विल स्कोर 6 गोल बट कोई एक गोल फटाक से आके मार के निकल जाएगा. सो क्लीन शीट नहीं मिला. एंड ओवरऑल भाई एक यूफोरिया तो है बट इट वाज अ जनरली डिसेंट परफॉर्मेंस. रोशन भाई आप बताओ क्या हाल है?
मेरे लिए आई थिंक मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली the thing was we were supposed to now all the game weeks are together. अब सब 27 game weeks पे हैं. So at that point अगर आज ड्रॉ करते तो सिटी आगे होता. So that's the only reason I did not want them to be ahead. And it is a different game. Like when you chase a team, हमने सिटी को बहुत चेस किया. 3 seasons we have chased them, and ultimately that takes a toll on your mental fortitude. And I feel like City hasn't been tested right like that. उन्होंने chase नहीं किया, people have chased them. So I would have rather Liverpool win and keep the pace up and see if City falters at a point. Where although expectation of Manchester United doing it for us, मतलब मैं तो नहीं रख रहा था, वो काफी लोगों ने होप्स रखे थे, बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट गेम आई फेल्ट लाइक मेरे को पहले से ही ऐसा था कि वी माइट स्ट्रगल इन दिस गेम कंसिडरिंग हाउ मेनी गेम्स वी हैव प्लेड. हमने कैराबा कप भी खेला, हमने फिर एफए कप भी खेला, एंड सो coming into this game we obviously did not have the squad strength, and also, yeah, as you said, fatigue was clearly visible. And historically Liverpool has just struggled with teams like this who don't necessarily have a attacking football philosophy.
Exactly.
And that is also a problem with high line too. Like हम लोग high line खेलते हैं, and then there is one or two players who are really quick on counter. I mean, Origi is not a slouch himself. So we always put ourselves in this position where like we get exposed against smaller teams specifically because they just do one hoof ball and then they are in clear space. So luckily, I mean, Keller made some crucial saves in the first half to get us to at least 0-0 in the first half, or else it would have been difficult. I would say problem with Liverpool is when smaller teams score one goal, they tend to sit back, and then that's a little frustrating to play against. और हमारे पास कोई play breaking players भी नहीं है ना, like you don't have the players who can like break defense lines and things like that. So it was very difficult, and I'm very happy with Harvey Elliott also because there's so many games that we have seen where he comes in and the pace of the game basically changes completely. The only problem with Harvey Elliott comes is a little bit with his size. As a midfielder, he gets
Also his
bullied a little
pace.
bit. No,
Also,
he doesn't have to be fast. He just has to be accurate with his pass, which he is very much, and he is a very good dribbler also. But most of the times, like he's not a commanding figure in your midfield. Like if you had like a Jordan, like you had Henderson, Wijnaldum, and Fabinho. If you compare that midfield to what we're currently playing with, at least physicality wise, तो कहीं पे भी नहीं है अपन. So Harvey Elliott brings you that creativity, but does not have that strength in him. So
but
maybe little bit more he develops a little bit.
like ये भी उसमें ये भी सोचना पड़ेगा कि हार्वी एलियट इज नॉट एन आउट एंड आउट मिडफील्डर ना.
No, he's
He-
definitely playing out of position. He's a left winger
हाँ
for
हाँ
sure.
हाँ
Yeah.
हाँ हाँ. तो
But again, we're
that's the
happy
thing.
that he's giving a creative output because कितने games है ये season मैंने देखा है कि we are playing slouch, sluggish football, and he comes around and he's like छोटे मोटे dribbles करके and like having players run and giving like a pinpoint accurate pass for people to at least shoot, because obviously हर striker का ऐसा नहीं होता ना कि like 100%
Plus
accuracy.
उसका एक
You need
क्रिएटिव
chance,
इन्फ्लुएंस भी है.
right? No,
उसका एक बहुत
that's
बड़ा
what he's
क्रिएटिव
bringing.
इन्फ्लुएंस भी है.
And we have, I mean, I don't know. He's a still right winger. Sorry, right winger for me. He's not a central midfield player, but I think he's turning out to be a really good central midfield player. And I think there is a chance where
In
if he has,
RCM role.
and I think it's good for him that role, because if he plays right wing and is competing with Salah, I would rather not compete with Salah
But
in any scenario, but make my own identities. And
एक
हाँ बोल.
सॉरी जस्ट इंटरप्ट किया. एक और चीज भी है कि फ्यूचर में व्हाटएवर मैनेजर कम्स, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ समबडी कम्स एंड ही इज लाइक कि चलो ठीक है, आई विल प्ले अ मिडफील्ड टू एंड आई विल हैव अ नंबर 10. सो इन दैट केस एलिट विल हैव अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ, मतलब एक पर्सपेक्टिव होगा उसके पास. मतलब द वर्स्ट गेम आई एवर वॉच्ड एलियट प्ले वाज द सीडीएम गेम वेयर ही हैड टू प्ले सीडीएम.
No,
उससे बदतर मैंने
obviously
कभी नहीं देखा था. एंड
he's not a
उसको भाई
CDM.
भाई उसको देख के मेरे को खराब लग रहा था कि भाई इसको कहाँ भेज दिया. वो वहां पे भाई फुल जान से खेल रहा है, मार खा रहा है, एंड वो भी बहुत फिजिकल रोल है, वो मार भी खा रहा था.
नहीं,
देख मुझे इसको देख के खराब लग रहा है. फिर लोग आके बोल रहे हैं कि भाई इसको बेस्ट प्लेयर. मैं बोल रहा है कि भाई वो बंदा अटैकिंग प्लेयर था, नंबर 10 था ब्लैकबर्न के लिए. आप उसको नंबर 6 खिला रहे हो. इसके बाद सेंटर बैक था. तो मतलब वहां पे गलती उस बंदे की नहीं है. एंड हाँ, राइट विंग में जो उसका जो एक्चुअल एंट्री था, इफ यू एक्चुअली सी, इट वाज मोस्टली अ नंबर 10 प्लेयर, मतलब एक क्रिएटिव लिंक ऑफ अ प्लेयर. उसको क्लॉप शेप्ड हिम टू बी अ रियली गुड मिडफील्डर, बिकॉज हमारा जो करंट गेम है एज अ मिडफील्डर, यू हैव टू बी वेरी मच प्रेस रेजिस्टेंट फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, and you have to be a constant pressing machine, regardless of how good you are or how bad you are defensively or in tackles. One of the main reasons why Henderson was actually somewhat really, really good in this position. So उसके लिए somewhat वहां पे वो ठीक कर रहा, but other than that मतलब बाकी भाई इतने गेम्स खेल रहे, he's a veteran at 20, and that's a funny statement. मतलब
No, but
शायद
you can clearly see even players of same age who are still playing academy, unka they're not as refined as Harvey Elliott,
100%.
and that only comes with playing first team games. Even if you're in League One, League Two, doesn't matter. तुम्हें वो first team games खेलने से ही वो experience आता है, and he was the only creative output for Blackburn when he was there. He was scoring the goals and he was getting the assists. So I think that environment helps. So काफी बार होता है कि these young players need to go out on loans and play those games, do that hard yards to get it in. But I think ये season specifically Harvey Elliott का that position he's playing is important because McAllister doesn't have to then be the creative output. Like he can focus on just being the CDM. And so that workload needs to be shifted around people themselves. So Endo is out and out your play breaker, gets those tackles in. So McAllister is playing more creatively when Endo is there, right? So the roles have been like कौन से players field पे हैं उसके हिसाब से लोगों का roles थोड़ा defined है, which is very nice to see. And that way we can also assess people, right? अगर McAllister है ही नहीं available नहीं, he's injured, then we know Elliot can take that role of putting the passes through midfield. So
also ऐसा लगता है ना कि एलियट कब से खेल रहा है हमारे लिए, but अभी भी he is just only 20.
It's his third year with Liverpool.
And we sometimes forget the fact that he's still so young.
Yeah.
Like the room for improvement is still there. But still the money is there. Actually, he has lots to learn actually.
Van
the amount of
Dijk, Alisson और Salah निकल जाएंगे तो average age of the group will be like very low, like probably 23 होगा. If these three players go away.
I'm just happy about one thing, that these kids, like, they are showing a level of maturity in the game that we wouldn't even expect like them to do something like that. क्योंकि अभी जो इंजरी कैसे चल रही है ना, तो उसके चलते ना, मतलब sometimes क्या होता है कि sometimes you have that feeling जे अब क्या होगा, like the fixture congestion is so much. Like अभी शायद स्पार्टा प्राग भी है ना, क्या है उसका नाम, स्पार्टा प्राग, वेडनेसडे थर्सडे को होता है ना, उसके बाद सिटी का मैच, लाइक वो कब से शुरू हुआ था, लाइक वो कार्बाओ का फाइनल से, उसके बाद साउथहैम्पटन, उसके बाद प्रीमियर लीग, उसके बाद स्पार्टा प्राग, उसके बाद हम खेलेंगे सिटी के साथ. ऐसे 3 स्क्वाड में अगर तुम्हारे पास ऑलरेडी 6 प्लेयर्स अगर इंजर्ड पड़े हुए हैं, तो अभी कैसे तुम एडजस्ट करोगे? तब ये लोग, ये एकेडमी के प्लेयर्स सब काम आते हैं. एंड द लेवल ऑफ मैच्योरिटी दे आर शोइंग इज आउटस्टैंडिंग. इट्स एब्सोल्युटली.
गौतम भाई, वेरी हैप्पी बर्थडे. आई होप कि आपका बर्थडे बहुत अच्छा हो, एंड इन फ्यूचर यू हैव इवन बेटर बर्थडेज. आई डोंट नो इफ यू आर इंडियन और नॉट, इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी और नॉट, प्लीज, sorry about that. So happy birthday from the IFP family, and happy birthday as a Liverpool fan as well. So that's great. So Shopmilda, sorry to cut you out. We'll just move to Man U versus Man City, the more intense one. And I have a special guest here, our Delvin Bhai from IFP family. For those who like you do not know him, other than his football ventures, he's also a correspondent of the Delhi Capitals family. So I support KKR, but आपके लिए एक soft spot हमेशा रहेगा भाई. And game days will be fun. KKR versus Delhi again. If you guys come up to the playoffs, हम भी आगे पता नहीं, but अगर दोनों आगे तो अच्छा होगा. So Delvin भाई, Manchester Derby. Honestly for me, अगर आप लोग का गेम में बोलूं, some extent बहुत अच्छा था initially first half तक. Even defensively, I feel कि Johnny Evans put a good shift. But when the subs came out, Manchester United was somewhat exposed, if you honestly ask me. And that is where I felt...
I will. So let me get one thing very straight. I am not blaming the manager for this defeat at all. Absolutely. I'm not going to blame the manager for this. I'll be very honest. Ten Hag went into this match with a game plan, and for the longest time in this game, the players executed that game plan well. I think the substitutions came out purely because of the fact that there were a lot of players in the side who were carrying knocks. Rashford had a rib injury or something like that, and he also had it. He signaled it since the 25th minute in the first half that he's not 100%. That does not discount him for the horror chances that he's missed after scoring the goal. But there were players who have not in the 11 who were not in their 100%. First half was as perfect a first half that I have seen, with the players showing the required control that is there, and with the manager also getting things correct. Like, you really seen that the team is fighting, and the goal, obviously, the less said about, I mean, it's right there for everyone to see. You do not expect everything about that goal was perfect. The pass from Onana to Bruno holding up the ball just the right amount of time to get Rashford coming in, and Rashford just putting his laces throughout it. That's as good. And out of the 3 goals that we conceded, obviously the first goal that Foden scored again, it was a wonder goal. Not a lot you can do about that. The second goal also not exactly amounted to a defensive error. More like Casemiro was very slow to react to that give and go, and that's where the goal went. The only goal that was a genuine mistake was the third goal, where Sofyan tried to be a little bit too cute with the ball and then ended up giving the ball away. So overall, I think we did most of the things right. But then when you're playing a side like City, you need everything to go in your way. With that being said, while I do accept the defeat, I think that the foul on Rashford was a foul before City scored the second goal. That should have been given a foul, plain and simple. We've seen fouls given for much lesser than that. I don't understand why was that not a foul, because you can clearly see Walker pulling his hand out and impeding Rashford. Like, it's out there for everyone to see. And I am not exactly sure. I still don't think there wasn't enough for me to be given as a penalty. But then I think, as Liverpool fans and as football fans in general, I think we've seen a lot of those being given when the follow-through is worse, despite of the player winning the ball quite cleanly in the first place. So I'm still not really sure about the penalty, but I am 100% sure that should have been a foul on Rashford by Kyle Walker. So overall, I think I did expect the loss. But then the optimism is such, especially when you take a lead against City at their home within the first 10 minutes. I thought that we would just get it done, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. So yeah, I think lots of positives, but then I don't think positives are going to get us anywhere. So yeah, not much to talk about. But I think everything, had there been a better squad in terms of squad strength, I think, where had Licha played in, had Rasmus been there, I think we would have been able to, give a much better account of ourselves. But yeah, I think these things happen, and the difference in quality between both the teams was quite evident.
I just say one thing, I'm not a huge ETH fan, and throughout most of the games he played against us or with us or in general, I never felt कि कोई उसमें वो बात है जो एक मेन्यू कोच में होती है in general. And I'll still rate कि उसका transfer policy जो है वो उतना अच्छा नहीं है. But when I saw the City game, I would say this, like, मैं उतने चीजें बोलता नहीं about menu, but आज मैं बोलूंगा कि if Ineos can get a good sporting director and some good scouts who can actually मतलब point out the players you need for the Ten Hag replacement, and इस बार उसका कॉल जो है वो बंद कर दो, उसको बोलो क्या क्या चाहिए बस और कुछ मत बोलो. He will actually produce a good team, because the way they played against City, other than the chances missed, it was actually a good game for the majority part.
Yep.
And
I think yes. I think I was having this conversation with Darshan Bhai on his podcast, on his channel. I think I was telling him the same thing. I think our entire next season will depend on how quickly Dan Ashworth starts his work as our sporting director. See, we know that Ashworth is going to be United's next sporting director. There's no question about it. We wanted Ashworth, we got Ashworth. The biggest question here now is, how far are Newcastle ready to dig their heels on this Ashworth situation? Because Omar Berrada is already in place as our CEO. We need a sporting director, that is Ashworth, and I think Ratcliffe has already gone ahead on record and said that whatever is the play style, we will buy players according to the play style that we set. Ineos in particular. So if Ineos decides that this is the way that we want to play, I think Eric Ten Hag will have to play that way because the players will be provided to him based on that play style. So my point still remains the same. The sooner Dan Ashworth starts his work with us, the more better it will be for us to put a proper footballing structure. Because if we do enter into the summer window without Ashworth there as sporting director, it's going to be the same old story again. Because there is no one to handle the football side of things, and we don't have to focus only on outgoings. We have to focus incomings. We have to focus on players going out as well. There are a lot of players who are underperforming. There are a lot of players whose contracts are running out. There are a lot of players that we need to take proper footballing decisions about. So there are close to 10 or 11 players that are on the radar, which who could potentially see the door out of Old Trafford this summer. So it's a huge transfer window for us, not only on the field but off the field. So I agree with each and every point you said, and I've been very constant about that as well. And my point is very simple: whether it is Ten Hag or whether it is any other manager who has managed United before, had any one of these managers got a proper footballing structure behind them, this rebuild that we've time and again speak about as United fans would have been done much more sooner and in a much more better way. But obviously, it's never too late for change. And the expectation once again for me as a United fan is that Ineos manages to at least get a competent football structure, because y'all as Liverpool fans will know best that results, trophies, and a style of play will take time to come. Klopp did not win a lot in his first 2 seasons. It is only after the third season, when he eventually started winning and when he started making the team in his image and likeness, that he finally got the success that he's got with Liverpool so far. So I think that's the same cycle that we have to believe in, and we as fans also need to understand it. The problem with the United fan base as a generalized term is that we've been so used to success that we are impatient about it. I think a lot of people need to understand that as of now, we are not where we used to be before, and it is going to take time. So we have to stop being reactive and we need to start trusting the process for once.
Also, I want to ask you one thing: is that is this the time that you should be like you should think beyond Rashford? Like, is this the right time that in the summer that you should actually sell Rashford?
If here's the very interesting viewpoint that I share with the Rashford situation. I think we all know Rashford is talented. The problem arises where there are unnecessary questions about his commitment. See, if you're not playing well, you have the right to criticize him on his performances. But you cannot criticize every poor performance of his by saying that he's not interested and by questioning his commitment to the club on every poor performance. I think every player goes through a run of poor form, which is, and whether you call it unfortunate or whether you call it the result of the atmosphere that is in there, these poor runs go on a little longer than expected for United players. But there is no question about the fact that Rashford is talented and can do things when he is on song. But with that being said, if there is a really substantial offer that's coming in for him, I think we should take it. Because however, it depends on whether Rashford does want to move or no, or whether Ineos are ready to let Rashford go. Because not only is Rashford one of the highest paid players in our team, he also fulfills that homegrown quota because he's bought from the academy. So that's another thing. But then if you look at it from an FFP point of view, if we do sell him for a good price, everything comes in as pure profit, and that can also help us in the PN, profit and sustainability, for the Premier League as well as the FFP in Europe. So I think this is a very, very slippery slope. You'll get a different answer from every United fan. I stand somewhere in the middle. If you get a buyer who's ready to put out a good sum of money for him, you sell him. No questions asked. But if at all you do not get a buyer, there is no other option than persisting with him. So that's where I stand on this whole Rashford situation.
My
Charles just
assessment so I just wanted to put in a few things here. I think the problem, what I've understood from other people who are Manchester United fans and who talk about it is, the problem with Manchester United generally, at least after Fergie era, has been people who have tried to come up with a footballing culture. Like, so what I've understood is that Alex Ferguson is a great manager of players. He had a great set of players who were amazing in the positions that they did. He had great defenders, he had great midfielders and great strikers. So he didn't need to have like a footballing philosophy as much as having to manage them play really well in those positions, and they've been successful like that. But
also
with the
also
but
some of those
yeah,
players were very flexible, like
right,
the Alex
exactly.
Ferguson team. They could play multiple positions
Yeah.
also. So which means that the problem that we have with Rashford right now is where he plays only on the left and cannot play well in any other position. We did not have these problems when Fergie was manager. You could put in a defender as a striker and you would still win. I think there was a game where Fergie played only one striker and he played with 9 defenders in different positions, and we still won that game with a very convincing margin. So that's the difference.
And if you look at like the managers who came in, right, like you had LVG who had a playing style, and so it is very difficult. It got very difficult for them to get used to a playing style rather than having managed players who were best in whatever their attributes were. So I think that's what ETH is also sort of struggling, is trying to establish
And
a
that takes
playing
time. And that
philosophy.
takes time.
No, no, it
And that
takes
takes
time.
time.
Absolutely, it takes time. Absolutely, but I'm just saying the the culture that the culture United is
Um,
used to, at least with Fergie, is they had the best players and they managed them to the best of their abilities. So they did not necessarily have like, oh, we play pressing, we play high line, we play counter attack, and so
Very fluid. It was
yeah,
very fluid. I agree.
right. So I think one thing is there for sure, that I don't know how that will happen. That team has to find its identity. Like Liverpool, you say anybody, if they
Yes.
don't even
Yes.
understand, they'll say gegen press, right? They press play.
Yep.
mm,
That's an
Precisely.
identity.
Absolutely.
So you need to
Yes.
have an identity. And the other thing is, from what I've understood, is I don't know external factors, internal factors. There is definitely a need of sort of a cleanse in the United system where
Oh, that's not that's not a surprise. That is definitely that you don't just need a cleanse.
yeah.
Like you need an entire redo. You need a makeover. So I think that's where we've spoken about the Ineos thing. And as far as the identity point is concerned, no, I get it. But then I think you give any manager a side where 8 of your players who otherwise automatically walk into your first 11, 8 of your players have missed more than half the season. I have numbers. So Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro, Mason Mount, Rasmus Hoyland. These are just 5 players who I'll name. These 5 players have missed more than half the season of our games.
Mhm.
Now these 5 players, in ideal situations, automatically walk into our first 11.
Mhm.
Automatically walk into our first 11. So it's very difficult to implement a playstyle when you don't have your best 11.
Oh,
We've been
that's
making
absolutely
you,
true. Yeah.
yeah, and I think at this point you yourselves will be best judges of that because of the injury crisis that you all have. I mean, the
uh,
I
fact,
was gonna come to that fact. So I feel Liverpool Academy was not a huge thing up until actually Klopp came, because the last Liverpool
mhm.
Academy player who blossomed and did really well was probably Trent
Joe
Alexander-Arnold.
Flanagan.
I mean,
No, not Joe Flanagan.
we had that
Trent
era. We had
done
that
well.
small spell. We had that small spell. We had Sterling. We had Trent. We had John Flanagan. We had Jordan Ibe, because
Mhm.
we were not the club that people desired. So we didn't have players who would transfer and come in, and we would have to promote these players. But I would say the testament of like that time where, I mean, suddenly being called La Aksa of La Masia sort of a thing, it's very
Mm.
different. And I feel for Manchester United, it's unfortunate that your academy cannot like save grace for you in the time where this is happening. Like how our academy has saved grace. Clear, I would accept, like अगर हमारे एकेडमी प्लेयर्स परफॉर्म नहीं करते तो आई डोंट थिंक वी वर विनिंग एनीथिंग दिस सीजन. Academy players coming in gave us a trophy. That's great, but I was just looking at, like, if they just play games that important players get rest, that was the basic important thing. And I think that does not happen for you too, because you don't have a huge talent pool. That's I mean, I guess Kamwala and all these kind of players are still like Kobe Menu, and they're all coming and stepping up, but you need more of these
I
youngsters to
think
come in and
Kobe
put in.
I
Menu
think
has done a
कल्चर
great.
का भी प्रॉब्लम है रोशन भाई. I think कल्चर का भी
हाँ.
प्रॉब्लम है.
I think it helps when you're
Abhi
it
guys,
does not.
let's just move to two of our
Yeah.
guests who are also Liverpool fans. One is Amurtada and the other one is Darshan bhai. Sorry मैं आप लोग को इंट्रोड्यूस नहीं कर पाया, इतना एक मैसिव टॉपिक चल रहा था, मैं एक्चुअली सुन भी रहा था. So is my internet okay? नेट जा रहा था बीच
हाँ,
में.
तेरा सही चल रहा है.
मैं ऑडिबल?
Yes.
Yes.
So अभी कमिंग बैक, लाइक कमिंग आउट ऑफ द प्रीमियर लीग, एक हमेशा एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर है हम लोग के लिए, मतलब इसमें घूम रहा है कि लिवरपूल का नेक्स्ट मैनेजर कौन बनेगा. एंड एक बहुत ही फेमस नाम भी सबके सामने उठ के आ रहा है, वो है ज़ैबी अलोंसो. एंड ज़ैबी अलोंसो हैज probably by now 99% has won the league undefeated as of yet. He probably has 2 or 3 more games left. He has I'll just check, but he has probably 99 goals scored and the least amount of goals conceded. And हमारे यहाँ पे जो भी है, we are like, मैं ये नहीं बोलूँगा कि we are like Bundesliga fans, but we follow Bundesliga. So I'll first go to Darshan Bhai and then Amurtada. What are your opinions on the way Xabi Alonso has played, especially अभी, and उसका mentality भी क्या है for his new job or his this current job, whatever?
मैंने जाका का इंटरव्यू अभी पढ़ा था, मतलब जो उसने आफ्टर दिस विन एक इंटरव्यू दिया है ना, आई थिंक आपके जो सीनियर प्लेयर है ना, वो रिप्रेजेंट करता है कि व्हाट मैनेजर थिंक्स. और जाका ने बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से सम अप किया. जैसे आप बोल रहे हो कि यार अभी 10 पॉइंट का गैप बन गया है ऑन द टॉप, और अभी आप कह लो कि यार शायद जीत ही गए हैं बुंडेसलीगा, मगर फिर भी जाका ने बोला इंटरव्यू में कि हाँ, मैं खुद एक्सपीरियंस कर चुका हूँ पिछले साल आर्सेनल के साथ, वी कैन नॉट टेक इजी फ्रॉम हियर, ऐसा बोला है उसने. तो वो दिखाता है मेंटालिटी तो अच्छी ही है. उसने सबको आप कह लो कि एक्साइटेड तो है, प्लेयर्स भी एक्साइटेड होंगे, उनके फैंस भी होंगे, मगर जब तक आप फिनिश लाइन नहीं क्रॉस करते तब तक आप जीते नहीं होते. तो इसलिए सबको कंटेंट करके भी रखा है, उसको सबको काम करके भी रखा है. तो ज़ाबी अलोंसो के बारे में वही बोल सकते हैं. देखो उसके नंबर्स भी बोल रहे हैं कि बहुत ही अच्छी, स्कोरिंग भी बहुत अच्छी है. मैंने पासिंग पैटर्न भी, मतलब नंबर ऑफ पासिस का एक पूरा ग्राफ एक था, मैंने देखा था, जिसमें हर यूरोप के टॉप 5 क्लब के एक चार्ट बनाया हुआ था. आई थिंक मैनचेस्टर सिटी से भी ऊपर थी वो प्रोग्रेसिव पासिस पर गेम, ऐसा होता है ना उसका. तो डिफेंसिवली, अटैकिंगली वो सब कुछ बढ़िया है. मेंटालिटी भी देखो तुम कि जिस तरह से कल्चर उसने बनाया है, वो भी मैं तो देखूंगा कि यार क्या पॉसिबल है, क्या वो आएगा, क्योंकि अभी जो बात चल रही है कि ही वांट्स अनदर ईयर एट बुंडेसलीगा, तो वो थोड़ी शायद हो सके कि यार वो अभी ना आए, अभी एक और साल ले ले, वेट करे कोई बड़ी, मतलब रियल मैड्रिड जॉब की. तो वो भी थोड़ी चिंता की बात है कि देखते हैं आगे क्या.
100%. Amurtada, so what are your opinion on the entire Xabi Alonso thing before we move on to a very controversial topic of this week? आप बस ये बोल दो कि मतलब what are your opinion on Xabi Alonso thing?
Sir, I didn't get your question.
हाँ, मतलब Xabi Alonso is having a really good, great season at Bayern Leverkusen. He's on 99 goals probably scored and 34 or 30 conceded, which is a record at this point. And he's also the only German, अभी उसकी जो टीम है वो अभी सिर्फ वही टीम है जिनका ये इतना परफेक्ट रिकॉर्ड रहा है. So they may or may not win the league undefeated, but 90% चांस कि उन लोगों ने लीग ऑलरेडी जीत चुके हैं वो लोग. So अभी ज़ैबी अलोंसो का जो मेंटालिटी है या उसका जो माइंडसेट है, what are your views on this Bayer Leverkusen team, the players, the way they are playing?
Bundesliga is one of those leagues that I would be least bothered about, to be honest. Like, I don't rate the league. This is my honest opinion. It doesn't matter whoever wins. It doesn't matter to me. कोई भी उठा ले कुछ भी उठा ले इडली मेकर है उठा लो भाई तुमको उठाना है तो it's okay it's fine move on.
बट
Wow.
अभी तो वही टीम नहीं जीतेगी ना. अभी be that because of Harry Kane curse or whatever, or be
It honestly speaking, there is this unrivaled monopoly in the Bundesliga, and it doesn't really make sense that if you even discuss this, whether Xabi Alonso wins or not, whether it happens or not, whether mentality, anything, or like all these names that have also come up over the years with people winning. The last name that I could remember is Klopp's Dortmund. That actually made a statement because they won the league. Like they went on and proved that that wasn't a fluke. So Xabi Alonso again, his team and his staff, if they remain at Bundesliga, they'll obviously have to go ahead and prove that yes, that wasn't a fluke. We have seen a lot of flukes happening over the years in many leagues across Europe, and yeah, brilliant feat if they win. But Bundesliga as a league never really has moved me. Of course, the German teams that win as a club, mainly Bayern Munich, obviously, and winning in Europe is obviously a huge shout out. But Bundesliga as a league, the competition, the level of competition, the level of football never has moved. It's okay, it's fine. Just jog on.
When you say there have been many flukes in different leagues over the years, can you elaborate on what do you mean and which teams are you exactly talking about?
You can move. You can talk about Wolfsburg that won the league in 2009, probably
Oh,
in
so
Bundesliga. And
you're talking about Bundesliga in specific? Okay.
no, not Bundesliga in specific. There have been like teams that have gone on and written fairy tales. Obviously, there has been Blackburn that has won under the management of Kenny Dalglish, and then you can see that they have been wiped off from the roadmap itself of the Premier League. And you can talk about the likes of Deportivo La Coruña as well that have won the league also in La Liga. There has been Leicester City also. There have been teams in a lot of leagues across Europe that are heralded as top leagues. But then again, it's just one season that they have been top, and then you haven't found them in that consistency roadmap altogether. So you cannot really go out there and put them and designate them as top teams or big teams or big dogs out there in the league.
But I would, I would disagree in that sense, is because it's not about the league in itself. I mean, you're competing with the league that you have, but you still have to stand out.
Exactly. Yeah.
We cannot put the blame on the league and say he didn't prove himself here or prove himself there. I mean, obviously that's a test of time. That's a test of the manager's
Yeah,
capability
that
to
is what I'm
adapt
He's
to
saying.
also
That
it.
he
going
has to
to Europa
No,
League,
but
right?
ultimately
He's also
go
conversation.
out
going
there
in
and do the
Europa
test
League.
of time.
Right. No,
मैं
no.
सभी बोल रहे हैं.
The conversation right now was just like it's very surprising that Xabi Alonso is coming through the ranks this quickly, especially with football being so
Yeah, that is what I said.
competitive.
That
Yeah.
none of that matters to me. Whether Xabi Alonso is doing well or Xabi Alonso is doing right, is doing well or he's doing bad or something like that. If this is doing well, obviously it's very good. It's incredible. But I am talking about a fan perspective where I stand. I think that if I am there looking at his performance, I think okay, good, very good, he's doing well. But if I have to seriously take someone out there as a coach and look into his performances, I'd rather go and look at someone uh, Inzaghi, who is managing Inter.
But
I mean,
my question to all the Liverpool fans here is: do you all really think Alonso is the man going forward, or do you all have your reservations? I mean, Amartya's already made his opinions quite clear on that matter, but I'd like to know Darshan and Parthiv, you also, and the rest of the gentlemen here. Like, do you all really feel that is Alonso the man, despite having the great season that he's having at Leverkusen, all things considered? Or is there any other manager that you all can think of? Because at this point, let's be honest, the Liverpool job will be a tough one
yeah.
because it is going to be an era of transition. I mean, Virgil van Dijk's 32, Mo's the same age. Then I mean, Allison has also entered into his 30s. So while there is a good mix of youth and experience, you don't really know how long this established core is going to be there for. With all these things considered, I just want to know whether will Alonso be the right man forward to take this club, or is it like there are other better opinions, or according to you all, if there is a better option out there?
I mean, from my side, I'll quickly sum it up. I just wanted to say this, that Van Dijk is basically playing this season as his last season. Like, from what
Okay,
I understand, he has his reservations of who is going to come. But from what I understand is, it would not matter if there is, like, the all the legacy managers are very old, so we're not going to get an old manager for a young squad.
fair. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
So I would be happy if he finds something better than Liverpool, if he thinks that's the option. For an alternative to Xavi Alonso, I think everybody really likes Ruben Amorim. Like,
Amorim, yeah, the sporting manager, right? Yeah.
sporting manager, he's doing really well, and I think if you like go into the depth of like data and statistics of what he's doing there, I think that his managing style is what Liverpool would probably need. We would probably lose a little bit of bargaining power. Like, let's say you could say Klopp has a little bit of players coming to Liverpool and playing under him. So we'll see but we will definitely lose that, even in Xabi Alonso as well, because players will think he's not a tested manager. So should I give my career to him for development? Uh, but I would say I'm indifferent to either of them. I would say the choice could be as big a gamble as we took with Brendan Rodgers, because we don't know. We took Brendan Rodgers from Celtic, so he was sorry,
Swansea,
Swansea actually. Sorry, yeah, Swansea. My
Swansea.
bad. Yeah. So I mean, he's coming from second division, not even a first division of the country, of that respective country. So I would be happy if they get a chance. It's good that both of these managers are showing what they can do in their respective leagues. Xabi Alonso, the hype is more because of the nostalgia. Apart from the fact, if let's say he was not associated to Liverpool at all, we would probably have similar amount of discussion with, like, Amorim and him, same plate. Like, I don't see any difference in both
हाँ,
of them.
I think
But हाँ,
बोल 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 बोलिए. I think दर्शन भाई इसके बारे में बेहतर बोल सकते हैं. मैं सिर्फ क्विकली सम अप करता हूँ कि I think the issue with Alonso, like as Liverpool fan, it's more emotional than logical.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah,
emotional
there are
than
hints.
logical.
There are hints of that, yes.
Obviously, there are options out there, but Xabi Alonso fits the emotional part. Okay, he fits the image actually. He knows like Liverpool inside out. So that's, I think, I'm not sure. Like Amorim fits the very tactical part because his play style is very similar to what Klopp is playing. Klopp plays usually at Liverpool, but I think Alonso के बारे में मैं सिर्फ एक ही बात बोलना चाहता हूँ कि he fits the emotional part. That's it. But if he indeed comes, I hope that he gets the success. We get the success that like we are currently on.
And also the
but
time.
I'm not
also
sure.
the time.
Yeah.
Also
But I
the
think
time.
Liverpool fans are a little
Yeah.
bit more patient. Like, you could have said that last season का Klopp को हकाल सकते थे, but then he's coming back and probably challenging
I
for a
think
title
Klopp.
who would not have.
I mean, but in all due respect to the circumstances, I think Klopp has earned that goodwill by winning the Premier League, the Champions League, all the trophies. Basically, I think he's earned that goodwill to have one bad season in the books, and so I think it would.
He fit that bill of his 7th, 8th season being a disastrous one. So
This
like,
was
he
his
knew it
7th, right? I think
Eight.
this is his 7th.
दर्शन भाई
No, this is his 9th season. So last season was essentially like 8th season. So technically,
because he
we
came
broke
half
that
season.
jinx. But
He came
that
halfway through the 15-16 season, if I'm not
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
और वो भी जब हम स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे वो छोड़ना भी नहीं चाहता था. He wanted
He
to
wanted
leave
to be
us
here,
on a better condition. आप
Yeah.
कह लो कि अभी जो
Understood.
फाउंडेशन
Yes,
उसने
yes.
लेड किया है, it will be a very important for who कोई भी आए भाई. I think it will be a big gamble. अब कि कोई भी नाम बोल लो, मुझे नहीं लगता कि वो एक सेफ बेट होगी. मगर कंसिडरिंग लिवरपूल एज अ क्लब, हमारे फैंस देखो, हमको एक कनेक्शन होता है ना, वो हमेशा अच्छा लगता है। हमारे मैनेजर को सिर्फ कोच की तरह नहीं देखते हम। आप देखो क्लॉप के साथ ऐसा हुआ, पहले भी जो भी सक्सेसफुल कोच हुए हैं या फिर मैनेजर हुए हैं, उनके साथ फैंस का, सिटी का बहुत ही अच्छा कनेक्शन है। तो आई थिंक जाबी अलोंसो का वो पार्ट इम्पोर्टेंट होगा यार। आप यहाँ पे हम बात करें कि देखो अभी भाई ने बोला कि ही डजंट रेट बुंडेसलीगा, और उसमें क्या हो रहा है कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। आप सेम चीज कह रहे हो स्पोर्टिंग के बारे में भी। स्पोर्टिंग भी क्या
Portuguese
कर रहा
league.
है हमको क्या
Correct.
पता भाई,
Exactly.
हम
Yes.
तो देख नहीं रहे। मगर ये लोग जो भी नाम शॉर्टलिस्ट करते हैं, कुछ तो डेटा उन्होंने निकाला होगा, इसीलिए ये 2-3 नाम
हाँ
अभी बाहर आ रहे हैं। आई थिंक वी कोई भी आ जाए वो एक बड़ा गैम्बल तो होगा ही, क्योंकि टास्क बहुत बड़ा है टू रिप्लेसिंग द क्लॉक, वो बहुत बड़ा टास्क। मगर मैं प्रीफर करूंगा कि अपना कोई फेमिलियर बंदा है जिसको टाइम ज्यादा मिले। देखो अगर कोई नया बंदा लेकर आया, जाबी अलोंसो के साथ वो होगा कि उसको आधा सीजन ज्यादा मिल सकता है, जस्ट बिकॉज अभी रोशन भाई
That
ने
is
जो
true.
बोला कि नॉस्टैल्जिया और कलेक्शन, वो आधा सीजन ज्यादा मिल सकता है और कभी कभी वो काम कर जाता है। आपने देखा आर्टेटा के साथ वही हुआ कि यार ही इज फॉर्मर प्लेयर, उसके वजह से उसको एक सीजन ज्यादा मिला, और उसके बाद में आप देखो तो उसने टर्न अराउंड किया। मैं ऐसा नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि यार अगर जाबी अलोंसो आया तो ऐसा ही होगा, हम फिर से टाइटल में जाएंगे, मगर वो एक फैक्टर हो सकता
I have one wildcard name. I mean, I don't. I think the only person who have had a brief conversation about this man is Parthiv himself. But Arne Slot is currently the Feyenoord manager. For a little bit more context, Feyenoord currently leads the Eredivisie. So he's another wildcard name that has been doing the rounds. I'm not really sure he's going to be there in the top shortlist, but then I think that's another manager who more or less resembles the style that Klopp plays.
4-4. It's a 4-3-3 as well.
Yeah.
Even for him, it's a very similar style to what Klopp plays. And I'll just end this topic here on a very short note. For me personally, it would be Julian Nagelsmann. Honestly, why? Because you give, like, for example, you give the best car in the world to somebody who's not an experienced driver. He won't be able to drive it well. He may drive it, but that question, or he may as well crash it and die. So in that simple context, I would like to just stress if Alonso comes, he may be a hit, he may be a flop as well. Because Devin may also have to consider one thing कि अभी की जो टीम है वो टीम बहुत अच्छी टीम है, मतलब उसको अभी कुछ मेजर चेंजेस नहीं करने। उसके पास वर्ल्ड क्लास प्लेयर्स भी, उसके पास न्यू प्लेयर्स भी, अभी अपनी जो एकेडमी उससे भी अच्छे प्लेयर्स आए, तो एक बहुत ही अच्छा बंच है। इवन फॉर मैन्यू जैसे पहले था कि आपको प्लेयर्स चेंज करने हैं, नए प्लेयर्स लाने हैं, रीबिल्ड करना है, वो सिनारियो भी है नहीं। सो इट्स जस्ट अबाउट प्लेइंग योर कार्ड्स राइट। एंड और एक बात है दर्शन भाई, हम लोग जितना मतलब आप बोलोगे वी आर मोर इमोशनल टूवर्ड्स द मैनेजर, द क्लब इज द कंप्लीट ऑपोजिट ऑफ दैट। वी आर वेरी स्टैट्स ओरिएंटेड। हम लोग को फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि कौन कैसा कर रहा है, अगर अपने स्टैट्स वाइज कोई मैच नहीं करता वी विल चेंज दैट। सो आई फील कि वो भी एक स्टाइल हो सकता है, वो भी एक चेंज हो सकता है। अच्छा, I'll just put Ankonda's point here. The main problem with Zabi Salah football is totally different from Klopp's. Don't know if our current players can adapt to his style or not. It's a fair point. मतलब बहुत बार होता है कि players cannot change or cannot adapt constantly, and it takes them time.
But then there's the
Often,
problem here that if a manager's style is not suiting the players, then it more or less comes and it feels like the players are throwing the manager under the bus. And that is a very valid criticism also, because if players are not adaptable, then what is the point of being professional footballers? Because that is a constant complaint that
but
we fans have as United players, where you see that there have been different styles that have been tried by our side, like where Van Gaal, like the gentleman here said, that he wanted to have a different identity. Mourinho had a different identity. Solskjaer had a different identity, and now we have Ten Hag who wants to play a different identity. You can
but
see that there are some players who are not willing to make the change. So in that regard, who do you blame? Do you blame the manager for trying to impose his new style, or do you blame the players for not being willing to change in that sense? There is this slippery slope where you will always find that there are two sides of the same coin, where some will blame a particular set of players, whereas some will blame a set of a manager for that regard. So that is a very genuine problem there too.
I think that is more of a ego problem rather than like, because if people who are professional footballers also have an ego that they bring in certain thing to this team, and a manager coming in, obviously having managed probably these many teams for these many years, has ki mera ye playing style, I want to keep this. I think when you're if it's a, again, it depends on what time you're coming, right? So let's say Klopp coming in the time where Liverpool was in complete shambles, he could probably implement a full identity of his, because we were like kuch de do we can hang on to. But I feel like you are right. Players tend to do this where they throw a manager under the bus, saying that we don't like playing with him, because again, players are 20 and a manager is one with probably 3 or 4 staff. So he's already, like, in terms of opinion and majority, he is voted out just like
Outnumbered, yes,
outnumbered
he's
like that.
outnumbered.
But I would say there has to be a good balance of the players coming to a compromise and the manager also coming to a compromise. So let's say a manager with identity can come to a team with superstars and say, मुझे identity कुछ setup नहीं करना है, मुझे man to man manage करके I have to make sure everybody is happy and they're playing well. Because
Which is what Carlo is doing.
exactly, he has no identity.
Exactly.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
it depends what time you are
I
coming
think
in, how you are approaching it. But again, in if you're inheriting a world class squad, I would say if I was a manager, I would go and see kya chal raha hai, and maybe make some changes to fit in a little bit, like maybe slowly and steadily. But I would manage the players more and get more. And again, as the season ends, you would say कि मैं नया manager हूँ, कुछ players निकल जाएंगे. Then that's an ideal time. I bring players who are of my affinity and I bring in
Your
a
style,
complete
your
style
style,
change.
yes.
बट
So
रोशन भाई एक चीज वो भी है ना कि आप फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से मोहम्मद सलाह, वी नो ही इज अ क्वालिटी गोल स्कोरर, वन ऑफ द बेस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड फॉर व्हाट ही डज, ही इज अ गुड क्रिएटर. आप अगर कल आके बोल तो लेट्स से यू आर ज़ाबी अलोंसो, यू कम एंड से कि साला एक काम कर, तू ऊपर मत खेल, तू पीछे खेल, विंग बैक खेल, व्हाट वुड द रिएक्शन बी? सी
no, but
नाउ
that's what I'm saying.
दिस इज द थिंग.
You cannot. That is what
हाँ,
nobody
वही ना
like,
रोशन
exactly.
मैडम,
you
दिस
should
इज
not
थिंग.
be doing.
ज़ाबी अलोंसो एक बहुत फेमस लेजेंड है, पुट दैट हियर. साला इज नो लेस. 10 साल बाद अगर साला भी सेम सिमिलर पोजीशन में होता, he would be in the same position. See, this is the thing I was saying about Alisson, Salah, Van Dijk, Robertson. These are legends. अभी वो legends बन चुके हैं अपने क्लब के लिए, playing legends.
But
Robertson legend sounds a little wrong, but okay.
Of course, man.
Robertson
अरे
legend है
dude,
भाई.
like, I
भाई
mean,
प्रीमियर लीग का
Robertson is a legend,
most
right?
top
I'm-
assist
I'm-
No, I
giver
mean,
है.
I'm not talking from a hatred point of view.
No, no,
Like
no, for
it
us,
just sounds a little wrong. That's what I'm saying.
no.
No,
I
no.
mean,
I
if
don't
you
No,
think
why
it
does it
sounds
sound wrong? Why does it sound wrong? I just want to ask this
I
question.
would say in Liverpool folklore, if you're going to talk about most successful squads, like हम जब बोलते हैं ना 10 साल बाद best 11, like all together, like best left backs में से, I would definitely put Robertson there. Historically, the best
Robertson
left
is
अभी
back.
ahead of Jonah and Eze as well.
भी बेस्ट. आप देखो प्रीमियर लीग सबसे ज्यादा असिस्ट रॉबर्टसन के है भाई. ट्रेंट इज इक्वल, मगर हाँ रॉबर्टसन ऊपर है, ट्रेंट अभी ज्वाइन किया है उसने. 58
And
असिस्ट
वही
दोनों
चीज है कि लोग बोलते हैं कि ट्रेंड कांट डिफेंड, बट नोबडी हैड द गट्स टू से रॉबर्टसन कांट डिफेंड. वही चीज है, वो
रॉबर्टसन
असिस्ट भी
भी
करता है,
बहुत
डिफेंड भी करता है. अच्छा, जस्ट मूविंग आउट फ्रॉम दिस, जो भी होगा देखा जाएगा, रोएंगे या हंसेंगे, एक साथ ही हंसेंगे, जो भी होगा.
मगर मैं छोटा से ऐड कर दूंगा यहाँ पे कि अंकन भाई ने जो भी बोला कि यार बहुत ज्यादा चेंज मुझे नहीं लगता. आई डोंट थिंक ज़ाबी और क्लॉप की प्लेइंग स्टाइल में बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस है, क्योंकि मैं पिछले 6-7 मैचों देख रहा हूँ बायर्न लेवरकुसेन की. मुझे लगता है हाँ थोड़ी शॉर्ट पासिंग ज्यादा है, थोड़ी क्विक
हाँ,
ज्यादा
I
है.
think Leverkusen
वाला
का थोड़ा
More build-up. More build-up.
possession based ज्यादा है. हाँ,
हाँ पेप वाला थोड़ा ज्यादा स्टाइल है, आप ऐसा कह लो. मगर एक ज़ाबी अलोंसो मुझे स्मार्ट बंदा लगता है. आई थिंक मैं तो सोल्ड आउट हूं. अगर मुझे कहे कि ज़ाबी अलोंसो आएगा, मैं खुश हूं.
3 at the back. So Alonso prefers a 3 at the back, is it? Because I seen
at the back.
because
We are actually
seen
playing with 3 at the back right now. If you see our
अरे
build-up,
भाई अभी भी
Boomers
3 at
like
the back नहीं खेल रहे.
we are
Amorim भी
playing
3 at the back खिलाता
3
है.
at back
नहीं,
when we are in possession.
because one thing I seen कि मैंने वो Leverkusen Bayern वाली game देखी obviously, and I think that was the game where Alonso shifted to a back 4 to counter the Bayern threat. So I think Alonso is capable of adapting based on a particular opponent or a particular situation if the need be. So I'm not really having an issue with the adaptability side of things. Like I think I think Virgil himself plays in a back 3 when it comes to the Dutch setup. So I think that shouldn't be a problem. Doesn't Scotland?
again,
I think Robertson भी wing back खेलता है.
Dylan,
Scottish
but the thing is, Dylan, Virgil van Dijk was one of the first players to have said that he's not comfortable in playing in a back three and he doesn't like the system of playing in a back three in modern football. He thinks that it doesn't fit in modern football. So he was the first one to have said that, and he probably has gone out in the media and has spoken something like that about Koeman or probably for LDC. I don't remember exactly, but he had complained about it. So the back three, if you want to play with a flying fullbacks or something like that, you just need to go back to Cadena's style of defense in that. If you want a solid pack at the base, so that doesn't really fit in with the style of football or the ethos of the footballing entity that we are.
That's a fair enough point. But then again, if a new manager does want to imply his ideas on a side, I think the players themselves need to be accommodating to get into it. I think because like a manager starts with an entirely new team from a clean slate, I think the players also start under a new management with a clean slate. So I think at the stage of his career where Virgil is, I think he is smart enough, he's experienced enough to be
Old
adaptable to whatever, and old enough basically to get adapted to whatever it is. If he's even after playing a particular style, if you have your reservations, I understand. But then I think it is always good to give the new manager a chance to see what he's trying to do. That is my opinion. Is what I feel.
Sure. Yes, moving on from that, Liverpool can get like a lot of good managers. Virgil van Dijk can be himself a good manager, play manager. We can see for ourselves. Moving on to a very controversial take here. As Premier League fans, हमारी जली है with referees. मैं openly बोल रहा हूँ. उनसे बड़े चीटियां मैंने घर में लाइफ में
Bro,
लाइफ में
the one thing I am united with Liverpool fans is I would like to get my hands on a particular referee and commit war crimes.
I will.
बंगाल में एक होता है, it's called मैदान treatment, तो वो चाहिए इंग्लैंड में. So we are so in hatred of that. And one thing मैं अच्छा अभी कोई मद्रिद फैन नहीं, इसलिए बोल रहा. एक चीज और भी है कि मद्रिद have always been a great in a good relationship with referees over the years. We have often
Except this season.
तो लास्ट गेम जो था, इट वाज बेसिकली ब्राहिम दियाज का एक थ्रू बॉल था या एक क्रॉस टाइप था जिसमें क्रॉस जिसको शायद बेलिंगम ने मतलब हेड किया था गोल के लिए. वो अभी जब क्रॉस मिडवे था तब रेफरी ने विसल बजा दी. उसके बाद गोल तो नहीं हुआ, पॉइंट्स भी गए एंड मैड्रिड के 2 प्लेयर्स बैन मतलब रेड कार्ड भी खा गए एंड 3 गेम
बेलिंगम और दूसरा कौन था?
रूडिगर. तो पूरा 3 गेम रेड खाए. अभी पीएल रेफरीज एंड पीजीएमआर हैज ऑलवेज बीन कि हम लोगों ने हमेशा उनको बोला है कि भाई तुम लोग अपना काम ठीक से नहीं करते. बट इवन दिस थिंग हैपनिंग इन ला लीगा एज वेल. मैं जनरली बोल रहा, मतलब हम लोग जितना भी देखते हैं कोई भी लीग हो, what is the situation with referees right now and the conception we had like a few seasons back कि VAR will change everything and the control which VAR has over on the game right now. This is a very technical question, like out of this football context that मैं पूछ रहा कि the amount of control which VAR has on a game and the control referees have on a game in basic sense कि आप एक attack के बीच में आप whistle नहीं बजा सकते. एक basic चीज है जो even हमारे साथ भी हुआ. When Liverpool were playing, वो अटैक था इसीलिए 10 सेकंड हो गया, इसीलिए पॉल टिगनी ने रेफरी विसल नहीं बजाई, अल्टीमेटली गोल हो गया. इट मे हैव बीन वर्कड अगेंस्ट अस एज वेल, बट जनरली मैं बता रहा मतलब रूल ही ऐसा है. सो डू यू थिंक कि जो एक सिस्टम है जनरली इन फुटबॉल be that with VAR or be that with referees, वो break हो रहा है. I will start with Shopnilda. He has been quiet for quite some time. So Shopnilda,
The
where do
thing,
you stand on this? कि कितना change हो?
the thing is the change तो पता नहीं, but I can think I can say one thing about the referees की I can only think about two words. What is incompetence as saying is they are unnecessarily protected. I don't know why they are protected, but be it PGMOL or जो भी La Liga का association है, referee का association है, I don't know why they are so protective of these people, because they are constantly every match. मैंने आज तक ऐसा मैच नहीं देखा जहाँ पे कोई fair refereeing हुआ है, ठीक है ना? Like I'm not talking about Liverpool getting the worst decisions. Liverpool got some decisions in favor of them, got some decisions in against them. ये हर एक के साथ हुआ है. Be it United, City, Arsenal. हाँ, I just don't know why these guys are so protected. Like every time, like there's some sort of like complaint, or I mean like कुछ भी बोल लो कि अगर कोई प्रोटेस्ट भी कर रहा है ना, तो पीजीएमएल आगे इसको इन लोगों को प्रोटेक्ट कर लेते हैं. They're completely unnecessarily protected, and that is what takes the joy out of the game.
No,
That is where I stand on.
To be honest, my opinion on this is I would rather go back to a VAR-less era where I can accept a human error.
Exactly.
Like, bas,
Exactly.
we are not doing any
Exactly.
better with technology.
no, here is the thing though. We've seen many instances where if VAR is used correctly, the decisions have been great. The problem
But-
here is not the problem here is not the VAR side of things. It's not the technology.
People are-
It's actually the people who are running the technology here.
No, but
Here's the
Exactly. Exactly.
that's the
We know
problem.
that,
though.
मगर
They-
तुम जो
they-
बोल रहे हो ना भाई, वो बहुत कम बार हो रहा है. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि
हाँ,
ये
क्योंकि
technology का
मैं
use
हाँ
सही
मैं
तरीके से
इंग्लैंड
सही नहीं है.
from an okay
Sorry,
okay
मेरा perspective on this just the thing is कि if you have technology, it has to be black and white. It can't be gray.
yes absolutely.
अगर पेनल्टी बॉक्स में एक्सटेंडेड आर्म, अनएक्सटेंड आर्म, इंटेंशनल, अनइंटेंशनल, शोल्डर के नीचे बॉल लगा है, अपार्ट फ्रॉम द फैक्ट इफ इट्स क्लोज टू द बॉडी, थोड़ा सा भी बाहर है और लगा है, गिव इट. इट डजंट मैटर कितना बाहर है, 14 डिग्री, 15 डिग्री, 90 डिग्री, डजंट मैटर. यू हैव टू बी वेरी कट थ्रोट विथ योर
Yes.
रूल्स इन अ सेंस कि ये
Yes.
इस केस में यस और नो ही अप्लाई होगा.
That is the problem. There is no uniformity. There is
Exactly.
no
And-
uniformity in decisions. Like if what is a handball for me is not an handball for you, is what the referee's thinking
Exactly.
is. Then here's exactly the
Consistency.
here's the problem. This is a refereeing problem where the PGMOL and the referees that are under, they do not have a uniform consensus on what is a handball, what is a foul, and what is not. So if Darshan Bhai thinks that a particular instance is a foul, which is black, there is another one who will think that this is not. So that's where the gray area comes in. The referees are uneducated. Plus, with this new thing that they've been given, that if anyone is coming for dissent, you get a yellow card. I think that has only gone ahead and empowered them further to, basically make those shitty decisions that they've been making. I think there needs to be an
Problem ये है
he hasn't spoken
कि
in quite some time.
referees are not accountable for their actions. अगर
So,
गलत
मैं-
होता है तो कुछ करो,
yeah,
उसको punishment दो.
I
ऐसे
normally-
कुछ
I
ऐसा-
normally am not an advocate of violence. I'm not, okay? I'm not an advocate of violence, but I really understand why Roma fans went ahead and were almost on the verge of beating up Anthony Taylor. And I think this is for the first time I'm saying this. I think more of this should happen. Where if the players are not able to get their hands on the referees, the
डर रहना
fans
चाहिए. डर
हाँ.
रहना चाहिए.
need to. Because this is past the point of getting funny, man.
And हिस्टोरिकल
just
चीज
not.
कि अगर प्लेयर कुछ गलती करेगा उसका मैच फीस फाइन होगा, जो ऑफिशियली जो लीग है ना वो करेगी. जैसे वेंडाइक का हुआ था, उसको ऑफिशियल्स ने फाइन किया था. इवन इफ द क्लब डिड नॉट वांट टू, ऑफिशियल्स ने उसको फाइन किया था. बट
Even
अगर
supporting staff gets a fine if they do something silly.
एग्जैक्टली
आपको
एंड वो ऑफिशियल
हमारे
फाइन है,
वो
यू कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग
physiotherapist
अबाउट दैट.
का भी हुआ था, फाइन हुआ था उसको, मगर रेफरी को नहीं होता. भाई रेफरी को भी फाइन होना चाहिए अगर उनका डिसीजन गलत।
सबसे अमेजिंग चीज मैं बताता हूँ, मुझे नहीं पता व्हाट इज दिस, बट मैं जब भी मैच देखता हूँ ना, पॉल टियर्नी ही होता है लिवरपूल के लिए रेफरी करने वाला। आई डोंट नो इफ दे बेसिकली गो एंड डबल डाउन कि लाइक ये मैनेजर के सामने यही रेफरी रखो
डैरन
ना।
इंग्लैंड और पॉल टियर्नी दोनों ही एक साथ हमको मिले, वो एक ईयर में होगा।
क्लॉप को पॉल टियर्नी के साथ लफड़ा है कि कोई और? इज इट कैवनर?
No,
Paul
Paul
में सबके साथ लफड़ा है उसकी गलती नहीं है उसमें।
But coming back to Real Madrid thing, I would want to say this thing कि there are two things. अगर तुम्हारे 6 मिनट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम मत दो। If it is 6 minutes, it is 6 minutes. If the ball goes out, if a player goes down, मतलब तुम और ऐसे एक्स्ट्रा टाइम देते रहोगे तो it becomes a subjective thing. You say पर इंसिडेंट, लेट्स से अगर एक प्लेयर गिर गया नीचे, ठीक है, टू गेट द game restarted it takes 30 seconds, you add 30 seconds, there has to be a math behind it. Every substitution is considered 30 seconds, so if 6 substitutions happened in one half, that means
3 minutes
100 exactly
3
plus
minutes
whatever the injury time is, right? There has to be no subjectiveness in this. Either you say कि full time, it is subjective when referee wants to start or stop the game, but if that is there, then you should let the whole play out. If there is a full attacking scene, नहीं वैसा ही होता है, but I'm saying
रूल तो वैसा ही है, मगर
right,
इस रेफरी ने विसल बजा दी, प्रॉब्लम
वो गलत है, वो नहीं बजाना चाहिए था
विसल। यार इतना सिंपल चीज है यार, हम लोग प्रोफेशनल फुटबॉलर्स नहीं हैं, बट वी नो कि वी लेट द होल प्ले हैपन। इवन लास्ट कॉर्नर क्यों दिया? विसल बजानी थी तो कॉर्नर पे ही बजानी थी।
एग्जैक्टली
नीचे
कॉर्नर क्रॉस के बीच में, ऐसा भी नहीं कि बॉल क्लियर हुआ है,
हाँ
उसके बीच में।
वही तो प्रॉब्लम है कि आप जो बोल रहे हो वो रूल तो है ही, ऑलरेडी रूल में है वो कि भाई गेम अगर चल रहा है वो प्ले खत्म होने दो, मगर यार ये इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं कर रहे, तो गलती तो रेफरी की हुई ना कि भाई आप नहीं इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे उसको, आपको जब बजा नहीं हो तब बजा देते हो,
बट वही है ना,
तो गलत ही है।
they can hide behind the fact that ये subjective है, ये rules vague है, it has to be very straightforward,
very specific,
and एक पता है बहुत ही फनी चीज क्या है, एक ऐसी कंट्री
also the fact that that the new rule about dissent, this is also very like based on judgment, right? Like अगर किसी रेफरी को लगे अगर ऑफेंसिव अगर personal grudges, right? Like the players are bound to be emotional about a certain decision, right? Like if a certain decision goes against you, you're bound to react. Are you also a human being, right? So अगर रेफरी को लगा कि ये something, हाँ, continue.
The best example I would give for the dissent thing is the Dalo incident. I mean, that was not that the ball went out through Salah and it was given a Liverpool throw. That shouldn't have been a second yellow. That was not dissent. That's what I'm saying.
वो बोल रहे हो ना, एक मैच था जिसमें मैं लकीली बोल रहा, वेंडा की जगह बोला था भाई तू पीके है लिटरली इन दिस वे, उसने शो भी किया,
and he did not get भाई आप मैं वही गेम की बात कर रहा हूँ। डार्विन नूनेस को फर्स्ट हाफ में येलो कार्ड मिली थी और वो ऑलमोस्ट रेफरी के मुंह तक जाके बात कर रहा था, उसको सेकंड येलो वहां पे भी मिलना चाहिए था बट नहीं मिला। आई मीन देयर इज लाइक कोई कोहेजन नहीं है रेफरीज में, देयर इज नो कंसेंसस ऑन व्हाट इज द रूल, व्हाट आर द रूल्स दैट यू वांट टू अप्लाई। दिस इज एट दिस पॉइंट अ होली रेफरीइंग इशू, not even a player issue at this point.
Just to add to that, there's also an even funnier thing कि एक चीज होती है जैसे हमारे पास as football fans हमारे पास कितने कैमरास है, एक या दो मैक्सिमम, वो भी अपने स्क्रीन में 2 स्ट्रीम लगा के, इससे ज्यादा अपने पास नहीं है। भाई मुंह से गालियां निकलेगी, उनके पास इतना पैसा हर रोज फूकते हैं कैमरास लगाने के पीछे, जब मैच हो रहा है।
सेमी ऑटोमेटेड ऑफसाइड रिजेक्ट किया उन्होंने,
अरे भाई डेविन में वो छोड़ दो, कैराबाओ कप फाइनल में जो एक गोल था ना चेल्सी का पहला वाला जो ऑफसाइड हो गया, ठीक है, जिस एंगल से उन लोगों ने एटलीस्ट हमें फैन को जो एंगल से उन्होंने दिखाया है ना, उस एंगल से मैं लिवरपूल फैन बोल रहा है कि वो ऑफसाइड नहीं था। फिर
आई थिंक
ट्विटर पे एक
लिवरपूल
और
वाला
पिक्चर
गोल,
आई।
आई थिंक लिवरपूल वाला गोल भी ऑफसाइड नहीं था शायद, इफ आई
भाई
नहीं,
वो
नहीं।
तो नहीं था भाई, वो बोलूंगा वो तो जूते पड़ेंगे, वो अलग बात है। जो पहला वाला था वो फिर भी क्वेश्चनेबल था। एंड जो उन्होंने एंगल दिखाया ना ये साइड से, इट डिड नॉट सीम लाइक एन ऑफसाइड। उसके बाद
अब वो
एक
एंगल
पिक्चर
का ही प्रॉब्लम था,
ट्विटर पे
एंगल का ही प्रॉब्लम था। जब हम
वही
वो लाइव देख रहे थे ना, मतलब जब मैच चल रही थी, वो एंगल अलग था, वहां से आपको लगेगा कि यार ये ऑफसाइड है, मगर जब
एग्जैक्टली।
वीएआर ने वो फिक्स कर दी ना फ्रेम, तब आपको
हम्म,
लगेगा कि यार ये तो ऑनसाइड है बंदा। तो
वही ना।
बिल्कुल सही पॉइंट है कि उनके पास कैमरा है, मगर उनको एंगल परफेक्ट नहीं मिल रहे, ये कैसा है? आपके
एंड
पास
भाई
इतने
आप
सारे
ये
कैमरा।
बोल रहे हो, लास्ट ईयर एफए कप में याद है, एक प्लेयर हमारा ही था, मतलब अगेंस्ट वुल्व्स गेम था, उसमें उनको ऑफसाइड दिया ऑन द बेसिस कि एक प्लेयर कैमरा में विजिबल नहीं था, तो वो शायद लाइन के बाहर होगा।
हाँ, हाँ।
ऑन पेपर डू
स्पर्स,
यू नो व्हाट काइंड
अरे
ऑफ मतलब
अरे
एक्सप्रेशन दिस इज?
स्पर्स, अरे स्पर्स लिवरपूल वाली गेम ही छोड़ पकड़ लो, आप स्पर्स लिवरपूल वाली
हाँ,
गेम पकड़ लो। आपको
वो
तीसरे
रॉबरी
साल के
था।
एफए कप में जाने की क्या जरूरत थी? ये यही सीजन वाले गेम पकड़ लो। Then as a United fan, if I start talking about poor decisions that have gone against our way, मैं तो फिर I have at this point I've stopped talking about referees because they are not worth our
इतना
time
कुछ है
first,
नहीं बोलिए।
and because it's getting way past the point where it's funny now. It's you just feel sad. You just feel sad for the refereeing standards because it's a surprise that Italy, one of the leagues where we literally frown upon saying that this is only Catenaccio and Inshallah, they have the best use of refereeing. वो लोग VAR to the point use करते, they have a set, they have, like Roshan bhai said, they have black and white. अगर ये है तो है, ये नहीं है तो नहीं है, there is no middle ground. और उनके सारे रेफरीज भी वही फॉलो करते हैं, which is why मैंने हम अभी तक since the introduction of VAR, I've seen that the Italian refereeing have had the least amount of complaints when it comes to decisions that change the course of a game. And that is a surprise in itself. Huge surprise.
कॉल्स लोगे ना, आपको प्रोटेक्शन चाहिए होगी। आप गलत काम नहीं करो, आपको कुछ नहीं चाहिए होगा। आप अगर ऐसे कॉल्स ला रहे हो, अच्छा ठीक है, आप प्रोटेक्शन डाल दिए, एवरी कमिटी नाउअडेज मेंटल हेल्थ इज वेरी बिग इशू, सब कुछ मैं मानता हूँ, आई पुट एवरीथिंग अंडर कॉन्टेक्स्ट। बट इफ यू गेट समथिंग रॉन्ग, फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू आर रेफरी, आपके पास तो कोई इफ फैक्टर नहीं है ना। इफ आई गेट इट रॉन्ग, if I cannot score, my team loses. If I cannot say, my team loses. If I cannot put that pass well, मेरे पास एज अ प्लेयर बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स है। मेरी लाइवलीहुड इस चीज से है कि अगर मेरे पास एक रेड कार्ड हुआ द बैड टाइम, नॉट इवन चैंट माय नेम अगेन। इट इज अप टू दैट लेवल ऑफ अ थिंग इन द प्रीमियर लीग फॉर बिग क्लब्स। आपके पास कोई इफ फैक्टर नहीं है। हम लोग के पास क्या है, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम जो फैंडम है, वी से एंथनी टेलर शिट, पॉल टियर्नी शिट, नहीं आता उनको, उनकी नौकरियां सेफ है, उनको खाना मिल रहा है, उनको पैसा मिल रहा है, सब कुछ हो रहा है। आप उनके लिए भी एक फैक्टर रखो ना कि अगर यू
That's why they're protected
Yeah,
unnecessarily.
accountability, yes. And the problem here is the referees don't understand that their decisions at the end of the day is the biggest difference between a side who's going to get relegated at the end of the season and the side who could
Exactly.
potentially win the title at the end of the season. And if you give shitty decisions, I understand. What the fuck is with this PGMOL apologies that you'll keep sending every now and then? Like, y'all at this point, y'all are just sending apologies to take the fucking piss. What is going to happen with that?
there's no meaning behind it.
तो ये बेसिकली यही बात हुई है कि हमने आपकी पिच में गांड तो जला दी है, मैं एक ही अपॉलॉजी भेज देता हूँ, आपकी और गांड जला देता हूँ, वैसे भी ठंडी बहुत है, मैं गर्मी सेक लेता हूँ। ये वही बात हुई है।
डेल्विन भाई को आज मैंने पहली बार हिंदी में गाली देते हुए सुना है। आज पहली बार सुना है।
टॉपिक ही ऐसा है
It is that unreal. सबके लिए जनरली, बट वाज अ फन सेशन, बहुत मजा आया। रेफरीज की चलाने में और मजा आया। If I could ever, I could translate this entire conversation and then send it to every single referee and the PG mall. उसके बाद भी हमें आएगा, hello IFP, we are very sorry for what we have done and we hope that you can forgive us. उससे ज्यादा कभी आने नहीं वाला। thank you guys. Thank you for it. It was a very fun evening.
Then we will be like, आओ रेफरी थोड़ा साइड में आना, जरा माफी देनी है.
एक अपने बांग्लादेश में एक कहावत है कि भाई जरा इसको बंगाली में बोलते हैं भाई एकटू चिपाई आसन तो. सो चिपा मीन्स स्मॉल स्पेस. तो भाई जरा साइड में आते तो बात करनी है. वैसा सीन चाहिए.
कोपचे में आओ.
So thank you for everybody who has joined. And first episode से आज बहुत सारी मतलब watching था. Like I have seen like 7-8 लोग एक बार में देख रहे थे. So it's good for the series, good for us as well. Confidence मिलता है. Thank you everybody for joining. दर्शन भाई, डेल्विन भाई का आज डेब्यू था. Hopefully मैन्यू और जीतेगी अगेंस्ट लिवरपूल के छोड़ के, और हम लोग और आएंगे.
Oh, dude. If at all we do win against you all, either at the FA Cup or at the Premier League, please do sign me up for the next episode. I will be there.
तब बात करेंगे. So let's talk. नहीं, but अगर 2 ट्रिप ओल्ड ट्रैफर्ड है, we are only winning once. ये मैं लिख के दे रहा. अगर 2 ट्रिप्स है, we are only winning once.
I think I might as well put in a very bold prediction here. I mean, at the end, even if it does get wrong. If we do beat you all in the FA Cup quarter-final, if we do, we'll win the FA Cup. I'm pretty sure about that. We'll win the FA Cup if we do end up beating you all in the quarters.
If you beat City as well in the run, I will celebrate with you. If you beat City as well.
There is a chance that City might lose also, however small, but there is a good chance that City lose. So, but my point is very simple. If we do beat you all, we win the FA Cup. That's plain and simple.
मुझे बोला नहीं चाहिए, बट सिटी की फैन बेस ना पहले 2014 में जो चेल्सी की फैन बेस थी ना, वैसी होती जा रही है. एक एक्सटर्नली टॉक्सिक एक फैन बेस जिनके पास.
It's fine, Parthiv. There are only 5 of them, so it's okay. Like, doesn't matter.
कभी-कभी लगता है कि यार इतने बड़े लोग सिटी फैन कैसे बन गए. मतलब अगर आप जनरलाइज करो तो छोटे होते हैं थोड़े एज में.
नहीं, मतलब वही बात है ना कि जैसे विराट कोहली मैन सिटी फैन है.
Actually, here's an interesting. मैं उस दिन वो नीति भाई का वो स्ट्रीम देख रहा था, and he suddenly said कि कोई सिटी फैन था कि वो कुछ मतलब बॉटलर बोल रहे थे नॉटिंघम फॉरेस्ट के मैच में, and he just said कि डीपी देखो इसका बार्सिलोना का मेसी का डीपीएल है. आधे से ज्यादा तो बार्सिलोना पहले माइग्रेट होके आए हैं.
Most of the City fans are basically closet Pep fans, and that's about it. Most of the latest crop of the City fans are all Pep aficionados, and I am guaranteeing you that 90% of that entire fan base has started following City when Pep joined in, and they might more likely to stop also the moment Pep decides to leave, or if and when those charges are applied on them. So whatever comes first.
We will be there.
और भाई मजे की बात है. अच्छा, I'll say this, डेल्विन भाई मतलब बॉल नॉलेज इन एज आपका जेमी कैरेगर इन अ वे कि एज जेमी कैरेगर का कुछ भी बोल दो, कोई भी ईयर लाके दे दो 2008 का ये टीम का ये प्लेयर, ही विल से इट. डेल्विन भाई इज ऑफ दैट लेवल. कोई भी ईयर का कोई भी प्लेयर बोल दो, वो बोल देगा. एंड डेल्विन भाई को मैं जानता हूँ कि शायद डेल्विन भाई विल बी अनेबल टू लाइक गो विद अ फ्यू सिटी लेजेंड्स. है ही इतने कम. मैं उनको डिसरिस्पेक्ट नहीं कर रहा, बट इतना टाइम हो गया है ना, एंड वी हैव ऑल सीन कि कहाँ से उठे हैं. सो उसीलिए और ज्यादा मतलब वो आंख में लगती है. अच्छा नाबिल भाई, द लास्ट क्वेश्चन, हाउ इज विक्टर ग्योकेरेस, who is a Sporting Lisbon player, can he join Chelsea next season or come to the big club? Please explain it. Victor Gyökeres.
I mean, at this point, whichever team joins Chelsea is the end of their career. Please don't wish such bad things for any player, man. Come on.
और यार
but नाबिल भाई विक्टर का बहुत सही प्लेयर है. प्लेयर बहुत सही है. I have been following him since actually his Coventry days. भाई वो ना एक वो प्लेयर है, मतलब if I tell you एक मतलब just सोचो कि 85 stats in all of his, मतलब वैसा वाले प्लेयर है. मतलब उसको सब कुछ.
I think we sleep on the Portuguese league a lot, but for the past 3 or 4 years we've seen a lot of stars come out from the Portuguese league. Bruno Fernandes being one of them. Then there is obviously
Diogo Jota,
Gonzalo Guedes, then
Diaz,
Enzo,
Yes,
Enzo.
And so then Darwin Nunez. No, but actually Darwin Nunez was great in Almeria also. So I think the body of work that he had in Almeria was equally good, if not better. So I think Darwin Nunez. Let's count him as well. Then you have these guys. Fuck, I'm forgetting. Rafinha himself. Rafinha was in Sporting.
आर्सेनल के लिए फैबियो
Fabio
Fabio
Vieira.
Vieira.
Porto. From Porto, yes.
एंड
So,
और पता है
I
चीज
think-
क्या है, मैं एक चीज बोलूंगा, वी डोंट टॉक अबाउट द चैंपियनशिप अ लॉट. कोवेंट्री के 4 प्लेयर्स थे, 4 या 3 प्लेयर्स थे, वन ऑफ द रीजंस
One
व्हाई
was-
दे वर इन
One was
द
Gus.
फाइटिंग.
One was Gus Hamer, who went to
हाँ,
who's
गुस्तावो
gone to
हैमर,
Sheffield.
बेन बेंटन
Yes.
डियाज एंड ग्योकेरिस. इन
No,
तीन के लिए
Brereton was for Blackburn, not Coventry.
Brereton was for
Ben
Blackburn or
Brereton,
Coventry?
yes. Ben Brereton played for Blackburn, not Coventry.
अच्छा, सो दीज टू गाइज, एंड इनमें से गुस्तावो हैमर का थोड़ा मतलब, मैं ये नहीं बोलूंगा कि उसने बहुत खराब खेला है, बट उसका क्लब ही ऐसा है to
He's
be
a
in.
perfect. He's a perfect player for someone like an Everton or a Crystal Palace.
And
Who-
सीरीज बहुत सही है, हम लोग देखते नहीं, उसकी सीरीज बहुत सही है, वो बहुत
And he's
rarely
another. Plus, he's another guy who's making his name from Paraguay. He's the only
Exactly,
one of the very few players from Paraguay. One is Almiron, who's playing currently for Newcastle. Then there's obviously this guy, and the last proper Paraguayan who I knew who played in the Premier League was Roque Santa Cruz. Used to play for Blackburn and Man City before. So that is
And-
the other Paraguayan guy.
नाबिल भाई, अगर आप बोलोगे ना कि कैन ही जॉइन अ बिग क्लब, द ओनली बिग क्लब व्हिच नीड्स अ स्ट्राइकर वेरी मच एट द मोमेंट एंड कुड यूज ग्योकेरिस वेल, मैं मेंटली नहीं बोल रहा, इट कुड बी बार्सिलोना, जैसा उनको प्लेयर चाहिए. एंड मैं ये चीज बोल रहा, मैंने ग्योकेरिस का गेम देखा है. एक हम लोग बोलते हैं ना कि एक डेड बॉल को लेके कुछ करना, वैसा ना मुझे उसमें से वाइब आता है. एंड द मोर गोल्स ही स्कोर्स, द मोर कॉन्फिडेंट ही इज लाइक मतलब गेटिंग. इवन अगर लेट्स से कुछ कैसे भी करके ही कम्स टू मतलब लिवरपूल नेक्स्ट सीजन, आई वुड गो आउट ऑफ माय वे एंड से दिस, आई नेवर सेड फॉर एनीबॉडी कि चेंज द फॉर्मेशन बिकॉज ऑफ दैट गाय. वो इतना अच्छा प्लेयर है, स्पेशली वो अभी जितना अच्छा कर रहा है. आप उसका बॉल कैरिंग बोलो, उसका प्रेसिंग बोलो, उसका फिनिशिंग बोलो, ऑलटुगेदर परफेक्ट पैकेज. एंड ये भी चीज है कि अभी वो पोर्टुगीज लीग में है, तो इसीलिए थोड़ा आउट ऑफ द रेडार भी जा रहा है. एंड उसका जो रिलीज कॉस्ट भी है ना, अबाउट 100 million, दैट इज जस्टिफाइड for the way he plays. So if he joins a big club other than Chelsea, with due respect, उसके लिए अच्छा है, and the club के लिए भी तो और भी अच्छा है. But हाँ, अगर नेवर करते कितने प्राइस में आता है, 100 में आएगा तो थोड़ा टेंशन रहेगा ही, मेंटल रहेगा.
I mean, big money players are always subjected to that extra layer of criticism in the Premier League.
Exactly. जैसे एंड्रो
price tag
फर्नांडिस, और
And most of them, and some of it is not even their problem. I mean, look at the Anthony situation, for example. I mean, at this point, even I have lost my faith in him. But there was up to a certain point where I really wished that the guy could do well, you know. But then
ना,
it
बट
is
भाई
what it is,
काइसेडो
man.
को गाली
It is
मिलनी
what it
चाहिए,
is.
उसको मिलनी चाहिए.
Caicedo, the entire
Caicedo
Chelsea
really-
squad needs to get abused. Not only
भाई,
Caicedo.
मैंने ये चीज मजाक में बोला था एक बार.
That entire Chelsea team is big money signings. You look wherever.
Big
Caicedo,
money bottle jobs. Big money bottle jobs.
Blue billion bottle jobs.
ब्लू विल भाई.
So,
मैं
you have-
मैं दर्शन भाई की स्ट्रीम में एक बार बोला था कि अगर बाय चांस कभी कैसेडो फिट होके आया ना, वो एनफील्ड में बूज खाएगा, वो एक घटिया वाली.
Lavia also.
And somehow वो
Lavia
खाया
also.
भी.
Lavia,
Lavia
exactly.
also.
Lavia
Lavia
fit ही
also.
नहीं है, वो अलग बात है.
Nobody does
वो
money.
आते हैं तो हम लोग भूल
Nobody
जाएंगे.
does money.
उसे
At this point, मेरे को तो लगता है कि वेस्ली फोफाना मर चुका है. Like the bro is not to be seen anywhere.
भाई लाविया आते हैं तो हम लोग भूल जाएंगे हम लोग इंटरेस्टेड थे. वो इतना मतलब वो खेला ही नहीं है, हम लोग भूल जाएंगे.
You see anywhere, and you pick any player out of that. None of those players' prices will be below 50 million. Mudrik's 90 plus, Enzo's 120, 105, Caicedo's 115, 120, Lavia is 60. Then Lakaka himself was 97 when he came in, and that dude is also now on loan again. Then you have Chilwell who's 50 plus. You have Fofana who's 75 plus. I think the only good, decent money signings out of them is Badiashile and Malo Gusto. That's it.
Palmer.
Gallagher.
Palmer also is 50. Gallagher is academy
Palmer
player,
also.
no?
No, वही तो बोल
हाँ,
रहा था उनको रखिए the
I'm talking about signings. Oh, Gallagher though is Gallagher's academy player, so not really.
But Cole Palmer was so cold that he was unable to operate on the final. So, again, the banter aside, good session. Daksh, thank you for joining. तेरे boards है अभी उसके लिए भी पढ़ाई कर. And to everybody here, next episode मिलेंगे. Shopify is a regular now. Hopefully it will continue. Delvin भाई वापस से मिलेंगे. FA Cup parade होगी अपने एक साथ. मिलेंगे.
Win loss definitely either way, okay. It's not only win. If it's a
हम
loss
जीते
also.
हम जीते पार्टी मेरे साइड से, आप जीते पार्टी आपके साइड से.
Yes.
एकदम. Okay. चलो, good night. See you.